Blood doesn't make family. This is Full Potential 1000. I am Paul. And what I've learned so far in my life is that blood doesn't make family. And I feel like I've been taught, you know, by many people that, blood is what is family. Blood what is what makes family. And from the trauma that I've went through and all of the stuff, the shit that I passed, it ended up I resulted in thinking that blood ain't family. And I even made some notes, a little bit of topics to, remind me of what I want to speak of. But blood doesn't make family. You know, it might as well be a stranger that you're living with. What counts is how you're living with that person. What counts is how does the person treat you? And do they really think for you? And do they really care for you? See, I know that my family, back at home, they care for me a lot, a lot. And during that time when I lived with them, I didn't know. I couldn't appreciate it. I couldn't be aware that this is such a rare thing. Not everybody has that. But until I got a toxic situation where I was living with my mother and my mother's husband, I couldn't, the way I hated that person, I couldn't even accept him as a stepfather or see him as a family member. But it was so toxic. And you know what? I just want to share the things that I learned from that situation. I thank God for being out of that situation. I hated being there. I hated living with that person, you know. And one of the things that I learned is that selfishness can be disguised as love for you. They can disguise their own selfishness and make it out as if they are thinking for you. No, pick this course. I'm just thinking for you. Do this career. It's for your own good. Don't leave, stay here. It's for your own good. And you have your own passions and dreams, and you now feel like you're obligated to stay with this person because they're thinking for you. And it's just their own selfishness, but they're trying to disguise it and not show you that. That's a toxic relationship, and you can't. That is not a family member. From then on, that's just a toxic person, and that person is just closing you down, and you cannot consider them a family member, even if you're related in blood. And I want to think about my situation that I passed through, what I could relate to this. Um, you know what? There are so many things that happened. There were so many things that happened, and they were so toxic, man. But one of them was that whenever I wanted to leave that situation because I was so disgusted. I was so fed up with everything. Whenever I wanted to leave, you know, they would always make ultimatums. If you leave, then I'll do this. If you leave, I'll hurt your mother. If you leave, I'll make your life worse. Even with my mother also sometimes will also pitch in. Don't leave. No, don't leave. If you leave, what was it that she used to say? It was like, oh yeah, if you leave, what are you gonna do? You're about to fail. You're about to do this. You can't. You know, she tried to make it out as if like I'm gonna die or some shit. And I also believed it. I was also like, maybe it won't be good for me. But I won't say my mother is not family. She is family. She cares a lot about me, because now that I came from that toxic relationship, I can compare, and I can say that my mother does care for me. But in that situation, I can use that type of thing that is also toxic, that little part was also toxic. And if a family member would ever do that to you, I say, it's about time that you have to evaluate the situation that you have with them. Another point that I have is it's okay. Oh no, they can hurt you too. Family members can hurt you too. Families can hurt you too. Just because you're related by blood doesn't mean they cannot hurt you. They Most of the time they are the first people to hurt you. The first people to hurt you and the first people to hurt you the most. I don't want to see this as if to put out negativity and stuff, but I just want to say the truth. I've been hurt by family the most. But I was hurt to the point that I couldn't consider that man my family. But I lived with that man for like 7 years, and he was married to my mother. And in all of those 7 years, I couldn't even consider him family because I had this deep rooted hate and disgust. There's so much. But the people that you've lived the longest time with, they are the people that can hurt you the most. You know, and I feel like, not to make it so depressing, but we should have that in our mind. You should have that in your mind. Have that in your mind so you can at least know that nothing stays, everything leaves. No relationship is just there forever. Eventually it ends, whether it's death or it's just them leaving you. And no matter how that affects you, at least have it in your mind. At least have it in your mind. Because I was hurt by the people that I've lived with the longest, in that toxic ass relationship. But the next point that I have is it's okay to let go of family or anything close to family. And it is okay because in the situation that I was in, the dude that married my mother, and I lived with him for 7 years, and I had a little brother, and that's his father. And in my head, in all of those 7 years, I wanted to leave that situation. From day one, I didn't want to be there. I hated being there. The abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, I hated it all. So whenever I wanted to leave, it was always my family that wanted me to go back. And that was toxic, bro. It was so toxic. Because they were not thinking for me by that time. They were not. They really were not. Because whenever I was like, man, I hate this shit, man. I want to leave. I hate being with this dude, man. I'm going back home. Because I was there living with my mother and him. Man, shit sucks. And as old as my family would be like, oh, stay. Don't leave your mother. Your mother will be alone. It's like, man, who makes you happy at the end of the day? Is it your family? Is it your people? Or is it really you? It's you at the end of the day, I swear to God. You know why? You're the one that decides if you want to be happy or enjoy. If you feel sad, that's not because people tell you you're sad, it's because you're telling yourself you're sad. The you inside of you is literally asking for help from you. And, you know, they were always like, stay, stay, stay. And I had to be this fucking hero, this fucking bodyguard, you know, that whenever physical stuff starts, I had to be there. And I hated that so much. I did it because I cared for my mother, but I hated that shit. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to live my life, man. And it was so, it was looked as such a wrong thing when I said, it is not my life. It is my mother's life. She's the one who chose this shit. And it's like, I'm the fucking villain, you know? Why would you say that? Nah, you know? And it was like, whenever I say, like, I want to live my own life, bro. I don't want to spend this shit. I didn't even choose this shit. No, we gotta protect your mother. You know, that toxic, that shit was really, really toxic. Because they will make you, if you have something like that where your family is like, you should do this, you should pay the bills, pay the house, it's your responsibility. That's fucking toxic, bro. At that time, they're not your family. At that time, you're supposed to think for yourself. It's fuck all and think for yourself, bro. You know, if you feel like, hey, you know what? Now I want to take care of them. Do it at your own time. But if you're not ready, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Don't fucking do it. And if they cause chaos, you should let them go. If any family, blood related family, non related family, friends, long term relationships, anybody or anything, even a job. But with the job, it depends, you know. If you're in a stage in your life and you need to get money, you can push through, you know. But eventually, when you're like good, don't even force yourself. Don't even force yourself. You shouldn't have any chaos in your life. You know, the immediate people that you have around you, they shouldn't be chaotic. And as soon as if you see something chaotic, put some distance or cut them. I personally prefer cutting people off. I had this thing when I was in high school. Whenever I had somebody's number or contact, and I would notice, man, this person, I haven't talked to this person for like 2 months and we don't have a relationship. Delete. That's how much I personally cut people off. You know, even if it's like for this little thing. Because I'm like, why are you even in my phone, you know? Why are you even in my phone? Cut, man, delete. And I would have like 7 contacts in my phone. And people will be like, man, what? Why do you have so little people? And I'll be like, why do you have so many people? You know, that's cool. But meantime, I'm forgetting. I'm like, that's so cool. I wish I had so many people. But as soon as I see somebody, yo, it's been 2 months, you haven't talked. Yeah, I don't even like you. Delete. Yeah, man. But I like that. I like that so much. But cut people off, man. Nobody should have chaos. If you have a girlfriend and ex-girlfriend is chaotic, it's just every fucking day, knack, 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 cut. Fucking cut. I have a girlfriend too, and with my girlfriend, she's not a chaos. You know, she's not a chaos, but sometimes there's some things I don't like that she does. But I like her though. It's not chaotic. It's not chaotic. That's why I keep her around it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But if it ever does, and you know, she has this thing that she always says that, yeah, you're too calm, you're too calm. I want you to get angry one of these days. But it's like it's how I move, you know. I can get angry, but I don't. I prefer not to be like all over the place, you know. I'll show you sometimes that I'm angry and you'll hear it, but it's still calm because that's what I like, you know. I prefer peace. And I don't mind getting angry, you know. That's my feelings and I should express them. But it's not my forte, you know, it's not my thing to have chaos, you know. And maybe if we're angry and it's a little bit drama, I prefer that drama to be calm still. That's just my way. But if you have a situation where you have to scream and you feel like you gotta scream and you're always screaming and you have to prove yourself and you have to convince people and people are always telling you you're wrong, cut those fucking people off, bro. Cut it all off. Cause fuck that shit, man. You should never ever have to feel like you gotta prove yourself. And I feel like I got some family members they do on some occasions. So I do keep my distance. And I'll keep on keeping my distance. And whenever it does happen, I should teach them, you know, I should tell them, man, I don't like that. And if they don't agree, it's okay. But guess what? I'm putting more distance, you know? That's how it should be. And as soon as you see something toxic, you should let them go. You know, just like I said, um, as soon as you see something that is a little bit toxic, leave it. Leave it because more than 10 times out of 10, it's a telltale to the future that this might increase, you know. And we're not perfect. We're not perfect. Sometimes you may love a person so much that you know why you're in your head and you're like, oh man, you know what? Maybe I should just, you know, I should just let them go. Maybe I just let them slide. You know, I understand, but at least when it gets to a point, you know, where you're screaming and they make you feel like you're unloved or you gotta work for your love. You know, you gotta do a lot. I feel like you should leave, and especially from the toxic relationship that I came from, where I lived with my mother and the guy that she married into, and there were so many toxic things, you know, that I feel like my mother should have just seen and said, "Nah, I'm out," but she didn't know better, you know. She didn't know better, but one of the things that I could name is that dude when he got you always have his moments where he's like depressive, you know, like the weather, you know. Sometimes you're a little bit happy, and when he was happy, he wanted everybody to be happy, you know. And it's not like, hey, free cheers, yeah, hip hip, yeah. No, it's like force you to be happy, you know. Aren't you happy? Be happy. No, no, no. You know, force you to be happy. And now you're in fear and you feel like now I gotta smile. You know, it was really toxic. It was really horrible. And when he was depressive, he would sit there in the fucking couch and just hold, you know, look down and he'd monologue. Now it's like, is this fucking main character? You know, ever since I came here, I'm so depressed. Your mother sucks. No, 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 no. She did this. No, no, she fucking sold my cars. No, no, no. She made my life horrible. And it's like you're complaining about this, all of this, but you're here. You're still choosing. And it goes back to my point. If anybody causes you chaos, you should leave them. Why would you still be with the person that you feel like causes you chaos, and yet you're there? Hypocritical. I'm hypocritical too, but I try to minimize it, man. That's what I know. I'm not good too. I got my lot of problems, you know. I'm not good too. I'm not trying to make myself bad, but I'm trying to focus on my life and minimize anything like that. But as of advice to people is, don't ever do that. Don't ever complain about something and yet you have it. That's redundant. And don't imagine I'm trying to be slimmer. I'm trying to lose weight. And yet I always buy cake. I always buy junk food. So shut the fuck up. Don't complain. It's either you accept it or let it the fuck go. And I say let it go because it is causing chaos. Okay? And the last one is yeah. The last one is a story, of the time I was in that fucking relationship. And this was nearing the end, nearing the end of just getting out of that fucking garbage relationship. I remember during that time it was really tense. I was fed up, so fed up that I wasn't even greeting him. I wasn't even talking to him. I wasn't even trying to pretend anymore because most of the time I was just pretending. But this time I wasn't pretending. I was like, man, see it through my face. I don't like you. I hate you. I hate you. Let's die. But I was like fed up. And this dude, I think he came out of an argument from my mother. And then my mother went, I think she was at work or something, and she was about to come, maybe in a few hours, And he brought these people. And he brought his friend, and his friend brought his wife. Oh my God. And I just knew a loser just brought a bunch of losers. They're all gonna talk about loser shit, And it pissed me off that I felt stuck in that situation because I know that they fucking losers, And I was like, why should I even listen to fucking losers? At that point I was fed up. And I was like, man, I should fucking get the fuck out of there, but I didn't have the means. But I was so desperate that I was like, man, I'd rather sleep in the fucking street at this point, because I hated being there. And this dude called on this guy, and then my mother came from work, and they told this dude's wife to talk to my mother. And then now my mother and his wife are in the room and they're chatting. And so it's now the guy that married my mother with his friend, you see. And now this bum ass nigga's calling me, And as soon as I hear him, I felt this hate. I'm like, fucking piece of crap calling me. I'm still angry even now. But they called me, and then I came up and I told myself, don't even pretend, bro. Don't even pretend. There's nothing worth it at all. And I sat there with this dude, and I heard him from the first word that he uttered. I knew that this dude is trying to convince me and my mother to not let go of this guy. He wants me to even convince my mother to not leave this dude. I just heard it. And I was like, the situation that you and that your mother he called him my father, and that disgusted me too. Your father. And I was like, I know what you're trying to do. You don't even need to tell me anything. Ah, no man would even come into another man's house and try to be a negotiator and fix a relationship. What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? Do you not understand that things need to be let go? Things need to go. Things need to end. You can't force things to hold up together. If it wants to end, let it end. You're a fool if you're trying to hold it together. Never be desperate for anything. And this dude was like, you know the situation, and your mother said that she wants to leave, and they said you want to leave too. Yeah. And they made it like they're trying to make it like I'm a fucking villain for even thinking about that. Like I'm betraying them. Man, fuck you. Like, man, I'm so mad even now. Like, yo, even family and shit. Not even family. So he was like, yeah, and I think that's wrong. That's very wrong of you. And then this bum ass nigga was like, what if it was you? What if it was you? And you know what? In that time, I was like, let me give him a point. You know what? I feel like I shouldn't have even tried that. Because I feel like it's useless. It's like giving gold to a squirrel. Squirrel doesn't know what gold is. That ain't like, there's no point. So I feel like I should have just kept quiet. I shouldn't even went there. I should have just stayed in that room silent, no eye contact, and just stayed there. That's what I should have done. But I know, you know what? I'm glad I'm out of it. I'm glad I did it because it ended up with me being out of there. So I'm glad. But then I was like, because he asked me, he was like, if it was you in this situation, what would you do? You would also feel pain. You also not want to leave your wife. And then I said, if I was in this situation, I would let them go. I will not force anything. And if the lady doesn't want me, the girl doesn't want me, my wife doesn't want me, let them leave. Let them fucking leave. And then he was like, no, 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 no. It ain't that easy. Da, da, da. You only speaking now. Do you have a girlfriend? I was like, yeah, I have a girlfriend. If she what, you won't leave her. And there was a time that happened, and I didn't leave her. I'm still cool with it. But if it ever happens that she's like, yo, Paul, I'm not with you anymore. I'm not happy. And it is what it is. It is what it is, and I'm trying to be that very, very much. But he was like, oh yeah, and then I was like, oh yeah, he asked me that, why don't I like him? And I told him that I don't like this dude because this dude, and I pointed him like this, and then I was like, I don't like this dude because he was abusing my mother. In my head, I'm like, this is so useless. I shouldn't tell him that because he does the same thing to his wife. Why am I even telling him? You know. But in that time, I think I told him because I wanted to let it out. You know. And then this bitch ass nigga across me, he's like, he feels offended that I was pointing him like this. Oh, I hated the bitch, motherfucker, man. I hate that. I lived with that nigga. Oof. God. But then, and then this lame ass nigga was like, oh yeah, he made a point. He was like, yeah, if I was abusing her, then since I was abusing her, why didn't she leave? And I was like, I know the point that he's trying to make. He's trying to say that, yeah, she ain't leaving because she loves me. Yeah, she loves me. And this is where fools are made. Fools are people that they can see the bigger picture. Fools are people that only see their own mirror. Fools are the only people are people that see their own emotions, but they cannot see the other people's emotions. A fool is a person that can think for another person and be like, if I say this, it'll kill her. That is a fool if you can't do that. And he was a pure fool, especially in that moment, because he felt egotistical. He felt like that's a reason. He felt like because she wants me, that's why we should be together. I'm only here because she wants me. And he's also lying because he wants her too. And he's also lying because clearly the bitch is my mother is showing that she's not, she doesn't even want to be there. And he's also a fool for not understanding that women are not assertive. They weasel out the way, you know. They don't do it like us, just leave. But he was a big ass fool by that time, especially by saying that. Why didn't she leave? Why didn't she leave then? If I was beating her then, why doesn't she leave? And I just gave up at that time. I was like, because I felt like I saw 3 steps into the future. You know, I saw what else he could see, and I was like, I saw what he doesn't know, the limits of what he knows. And I felt like even if I try to describe to you, you're just a dumbass. And I was like, there's no point. And I just kept quiet from then on. I was like, you know. And this dude was like, yo, yo. He was just edging him on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, she wants him. She wants him. And he was like, I also I also beat my wife. I was like, and he was like, yeah, but you know why I beat her? I beat her because she was doing wrong things. Oh my God. And I was so appalled by that. It's like I'm disgusted, but I'm not surprised that you even said that, you know? But you said it. I beat her because I'm teaching her a lesson. And it's funny that even he said that, my mother's, the person that my mother was married to, even he said that. I remember maybe a few years, maybe 5 years back or 6 years back. So he said that. He said, no, I was beating her because I wanted to learn a lesson. Man, nobody's a fucking god in this life. We're all humans and nobody's bigger than anybody. You're not bigger than a fucking woman. And as soon as you think you are, you're just a bitch. You're just a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old fucking baby in a pampas. Thinking that you're better than people. You walk around in this earth with so many emotions that you can't even see the bigger picture. You can't even see life. I don't blame you. Sometimes I'm in that. Sometimes I'm in deep anxiety or fear. Or I'm sometimes egotistical. thinking that everybody sees me. If I do this one thing, I'm gonna be embarrassed, and the whole world will see me. Sometimes I'm in that too. But shit, I'm trying to fix it too. At least I'm aware of it. I don't wanna be a fool too. And these past experiences, I want to use them as lessons, and I want to be better for myself. I want to be better for my future and for my children that I'm gonna make. I want to be a father, but I don't wanna be horrible. I don't wanna I wanna bring this trauma to them. I wanna face this and evolve. Face this and let go. As much as I hate that man, he's human. As much as I hate him, I can be the same person. I can be the same person. I can do the same things he has done. By the grace of God, I was blessed with awareness, and I can be aware of the things that I do. That's why I can breathe. He's not aware. That's why he's just doing things. That's why he's just beating women. That's why he's just so chaotic and suffering inside. I hope this hits your heart, and I hope it at least it at least makes you think about your own life, and you start to stop and look inside, or look behind at your life and see that there's this whole mess that you gotta clean up. And try, bro. Try to jump that hill. Try to face that fear. All of your emotions. We're humans, dog. Even though I hate him, he's a human. Even though I have my own opinions, he's a human. I'm a human too. And I have my own problems, my own fears, my own everything. I got my own life, my own story. I think I'll just leave it right there. And whoever watches, watches. Whoever doesn't, doesn't. But until next time.